Where's Nick Timothy?
Which
Well, that everybody's used to. Hey, I wouldn't go as far as
The recording starting.
Can I welcome everyone to this Final Authority Investment Board today?
That's true.
We are quiet within the room, and we have a number of people who have joined us online. And welcome particularly to Councillor Crompton, who I understand is having difficulty in driving at the moment, but it's good to see you with us this morning. Hopefully everything will go according to plan. I'm going to take the agenda as it's written. First of all, apologies for absence, if any.
Apologies for absence, Chair, have been received from Councillor O'Boyle, Councillor Simpkins and Councillor Jefferson.
Thank you. So we received those notifications and apologies. Any substitutes today?
No substitutes, Chair.
No substitutes have been advised. I'll now take declarations of interest. If any members are reminded of the need to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest that they have in an item being discussed during the course of the meeting. In addition, the receipt of any gift or hospitality should be declared where the value of it is thought to exceed £25 or £40. Any declarations? None within the room, none on the screen. Just for the people on the screen, obviously, if you raise your hand, we will pick you up and we'll come to you on that basis as is the normal arrangement. We have the previous minutes have been issued as agenda item 4, pages 1 to 8 in the papers. I'm just noting those, everyone accepting those. Just a couple of updates. The Housing and Regeneration Fund dashboard we wanted to see that produced for the investment board. We haven't been able to get it done on this occasion, but we'll be ready for the next meeting when we reconvene. And if you recall, in February, it was agreed that we would bring forward a paper regarding cost escalations to ensure that people understand the process. And that paper is within the pack this morning, so we will bring that through on the normal agenda. On that basis, I'll therefore move on to items of business for noting. And the first one of those at page 9 to 26 is the investment programme update and dashboard. I'm going to hand over to Ian Martin to just brief us on the proposal. Thank you.
Okay, quite a short one for us to take this morning. So the funding commitment as at the end of March was 858.5 million, so there's no change there versus the funding available from confirmed income streams of 871 million as approved by CA Board. That excludes the earmark contributions approved from the CA Board, which reached the full limit. Since the last board, WMCA officers have not approved any change requests in the delegated authority, hence this is quite brief. And the costs incurred or the drawings to the end of March were 415.4 million. So that's significantly up. We're moving about £9 to £10 million per month now as the schemes escalate onwards.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the investment programme update? Tristan?
So I was going to come onto the dashboard. Sorry, is it too?
You want to do the
sorry,
dashboard?
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, Chair.
Yeah. No questions on the actual investment programme update. I can't see any hands on the screen either, so we'll just take the dashboard, please. Thank you.
Okay, right, now I'm prepared. It's just 81 projects recorded as having approved funding. Within these, there's various sub-projects, as we've discussed previously. As business cases are updated, and those will split those out so we can better monitor record the programme. We have 13 schemes of red status. Those are on completion only. We're not advised at this stage of any increases in expenditure requested, which will also cover why that might be under cost escalation a little bit later on the agenda. I'm happy to go through any of the individual schemes, but perhaps would draw your attention to a large one, which is the Coventry City Centre South scheme, where we committed £98.75 million. CA officers are continuing discussions with their colleagues at Coventry regarding that. There is quite a lot of progress behind the scenes with the developer appointment. I'm hoping that we will be able to receive at this board in June, July, a first update followed by a change request that will come through in September, October to formally approve. But a bit of a briefing, I'm hoping, in June, July about progress from officers at Coventry.
Councillor Chatfield.
Sorry, wrong button. No, you did that. Just that there's a couple on here that are due for completion, or they were due for completion last month, so the 31st of the 3rd. But there's a reference to a change request, but I think they've already been changed. So one of them's the Birmingham Business Park Southern Access, and there's one down the bottom of the same page, Walking, Cycling, Green Infrastructure Investment Programme. And I think they both had change requests. I wasn't sure if this is reference to change requests that have already gone through, or whether these are expected further change requests.
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer right in front of me. I'll look at those, Councillor Chatfield, and make sure we've got things right. What frequently happens is that we do have a change request submitted. It doesn't contain all the answers, and therefore we refer it back until we have, so we can make a proper decision on that. Those are likely given volumes and delegated authority, but I'll make sure that we've got an update for next board.
Thank you.
Not to go to the minutes. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other hands in the room? Anyone on screen wish to ask any questions with regard to the investment programme dashboard? No indications from anyone that I can see. We'll therefore move to item 7 on the agenda. Sorry, item 6 on the agenda. My agendas are slightly. Yeah, there we go. So this is the cost escalation commentary paper that the board asked for. Again, I'm going to hand over to Ian to advise us on the key issues within the paper. Ian, please.
Thank you, Chair. Investment boards previously expressed concerns or potential concern over the arrangements to forecast and deal with cost overruns against the backdrop of rising costs across the board, which we're all familiar with and seeing ourselves. Investment board is requested to note the arrangements in this regard. I emphasise the following from the paper. So the WMCA is the accountable body for the investment programme, so we're required to submit any information requested by HMG, I suppose at any time, but also formally at every 5-year gateway review, and that's crucial to maintain the £36.5 million per annum that we've rolled up to use to fund the investment programme. Investment board obviously receives the monthly updates which record the status of the investment programme. As Councillor Chatfield has just pointed out to me, because he's doing his monitoring role excellently there in terms of pulling us out, we are required to review those projects. For each project within the programme, there's a designated delivery agency or project sponsor. So that's usually metropolitan local authorities, or occasionally WMCA, largely through TFWM. Their responsibility is to progress schemes against the milestones and the budget and the outputs that they've stated in that business case. Project sponsors must issue change requests to the WMCA whenever there's a material deviation from any of those factors. So where cost escalation has occurred or is believed to be forecast, the remedy is as follows. Firstly, the contingency that should be allocated in the project funding is to be used. That would have been signed off at business case stage. Secondly, the delivery agency sponsor is obligated to meet costs if that contingency won't meet it. And they must do that from local resources, and that's contained in our funding agreement. The third measure, if the first 2 steps were exhausted or not possible, a change request may be considered, and that could seek approval to reduce costs by altering the project's timing, components, or benefits. That approval is not guaranteed, and that approval will either be under delegation or it will come to this board, but it will pass through a single assurance framework. And finally, it's worth stating that the investment programme affordable sum is fully allocated. The provision of additional funds to meet cost overruns using the investment programme is not possible at this time. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. I think the paper is worthwhile so that people can understand, particularly new members to the board, how these matters are dealt with, either through a change request, which of course is not guaranteed because it comes back to this board. But the other two elements are in essence in control of the accountable body for the particular projects, and therefore those need to be exhausted before we get to the point where the change request comes through to this board. Any questions on the paper? Clarification from anyone to Ian? Don't see any indications in the room. Anyone on screen which wish to ask any matters? None indicated. We therefore are noting the paper accordingly. Thank you. We now move to item 7, which is, I'm afraid we should have done this last time, to be fair. That's why you're all here today in some regard. We didn't get the delegation approved for audit purposes, and that's what this paper actually does. It delegates within the period up to June for matters to be referred through the delegation to officers to actually decide on whether we would approve any investment proposals that come forward. And that is the purpose. So we're asked, in fact, to approve the proposed delegation decision-making authority as outlined in section 3 of the report to the section 151 officer, which is Linda, in consultation with the chair of the investment board and on the advice as appropriate to the investment commercial activities director, who is Ian. So that's a delegation. The governance, of course, did ask us to do this to make sure we had got an audit in case we were challenged on where the delegation was in place. So that's the decision we're asked to approve. Is there any dissent to accepting that on this basis? It was what we did on the previous occasion last year. Any contrary indications? No, thank you. On screen, I'm seeing none, so we will approve that delegation accordingly. Thank you. We now move on to other items which are for noting. They're the normal 3 items that we receive on this occasion. Collective Investment Fund, the SIF dashboard, the Brownfield Land and Property Investment Fund, the BLPDF dashboard, and the WMCA Revolving Investment Fund. I would advise members you have a separate set of papers which we dealt with through the private section of the meeting. So if you ask any questions, please confine yourself to the matters that are in the public domain at this point in time. Nick, do you want to just speak to the papers, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As you advised, these are the public information dashboards. I will provide a full update under the private session, but I'm happy to take any questions if there are.
Any questions indicated on the public papers with regard to the 3 dashboards we've just identified? No indications within the room, no indications on the screen. Those items are, as I've said, for noting at this point in time. We therefore move to item 11, which is the exclusion of the press and public, and we have to pass the following resolution. That in accordance with section 108(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following items of business, as they involve the likely disclosure of present information related to the business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. I'm therefore proposing that